Hi, and thanks for joining me for another edition of the Bell Performance video blog. I'm Eric Bjornstead with Bell, and today we're going to talk about the impact of the 2014 agriculture bill signed into law by federal President Obama in February of 2014. Now, typically bills like this are hundreds or, well, typically thousands of pages long, and this bill contained a lot of different provisions, and when people started digging through it, what they realized is it cut funding for several things that will have a direct impact upon the spread of ethanol and biofuels into our nation's fuel supply. Now, one thing that they found was that it cut funding for a program, a little known program called the I believe the Rural Energy for America program. What the Rural Energy Program did was it provided funding to gas stations who wanted to install E15 blender pumps. Now, E15 blender pumps were special pumps that would mix the ethanol and the gasoline basically on site and allow the consumer to choose at the pump whether they wanted to pump with E10 or E15 or E85 if they have a flex fuel vehicle, basically allowing them to choose the percent of ethanol that they wanted in their gasoline. Now, on the one hand, you might think that that's okay. That's more choice for the consumer. But groups like the American Motorcycle Association were extremely concerned because there's already a lot of confusion out there between, or rather among, consumers who don't know, for example, that E15, you're not supposed to put E15 in the lawnmower, but for some lawnmowers you can put E10. So they were saying, well, if you have all these pumps, you're just going to get a lot of people putting fuel into vehicles that it's not approved for, and you're going to get some catastrophic results. And so there was some pretty heavy lobbying with the federal government, and President Obama listened. The Congress listened, and so they cut funding for this Rural Energy for America program. Now, these blender pumps are a big deal because they were always considered by the ethanol industry to be essential, integral parts of any more large-scale expansion of E15 across the country. See, right now, we talk a lot about E15, but it's still limited. Several years after it was actually approved by the EPA, the availability of E15 is still, practically speaking, limited essentially to the Midwest. So when you have cuts to programs like the Rural Energy for America program, well, that's going to make it even harder for E15 to infiltrate the rest of the country, so to speak. Now, another couple of things that it did was the Agriculture Act for 2014. It cut funding by 75% for research into secondary sources for biofuels and for ethanol. Now, by this, what we mean is research programs to do things like produce biodiesel from algae, and to produce ethanol from garbage and from cellulosic sources. Now, ethanol from garbage sounds kind of kooky, but ethanol from cellulosic sources, we're going to do another blog on that because cellulosic ethanol, as they call it, has been considered by Congress to be an important part of the long-term view for incorporating ethanol into the national fuel supply. Cellulosic ethanol is much harder to make than ethanol from just the regular food corn. Yet, if you think about it, if you're able to make ethanol from corn stalks and leaves and all the waste and the trash that come from the non-food parts of the plant, well, that right there is a worthwhile thing to try and do. Unfortunately, it has proven to be a lot harder than people think, or rather, I should rephrase that, it's proven to be a lot harder than people had anticipated to be able to crack this code of being able to make ethanol from essentially plant waste in a cost-effective manner on the kind of large scale that we would need to make it in this country in order for it to be a substantive part of the national energy supply. And the 2014 Agriculture Act pretty much cut a lot of funding for those programs. So the ethanol industry are not going to be happy about these cuts in the Ag Act. But on the other hand, people who don't really like ethanol, they're probably going to be, once they realize that it's actually that's what the bill actually does, they're probably going to be a lot happier about that. So anyway, thanks for joining me today for this edition of the Bell video blog. If you like this, if you want more information on this and loads of other interesting topics, you can visit our blog. We're located at our two websites, actually. We have two of them, bellperformance.com and wefixfuel.com. So check them out. I think you'll like what you see. So thanks for joining me today. I am Eric Bjornstead with Bell Performance, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.